Before I get heck from him, please PayPal and subscribe. Months ago, someone stood up in Montreal in a public forum and said, Allah, help us identify the Jews. We're going to kill them. I don't know how people put up with that in Canada. Avi Benlolo is a longtime spokesperson and a strong advocate for the Jewish community, learned, and he joins me right now. I've interviewed you years ago. I'm glad I can do so now. If somebody had said, standing up, saying, you know, hunt down all the Italians, we're going to shoot them, or hunt down all the Greeks, they would have been in jail. What's going on in Canada? Are we so tolerant?
Yeah, that's exactly correct. We always say the same thing. If it was against a black person or an Asian person or anyone else, the world, our society would be up in arms. But when it's against the Jewish community, it seems to be okay when someone calls for our death. So what should be done? What should the Attorney General or the Chief of Police or the Prime Minister have done in that situation? Look, we have persistently called for arrests, immediate arrests on hate speech, on hate crime. There are laws in this country which are actually geared for this exact purpose. Those laws are not being upheld. They are not being effectively implemented.
Is this because of votes? Is this because the Jewish community is outvoted by other communities now in Canada?
Look, demographically, there's a huge demographic shift in this country. We all know this, and that could be one of the reasons. The other reasons is, of course, not to inflame the other community and not to, you know, not to get them up in arms. But that you know, these are obvious excuses. We should uphold the law in this country. No citizen should be harassed or intimidated. Threats for death against another group should not happen in our country against anybody. And this is a serious problem. And you know, it starts with the Jews, and you know what happens next. It doesn't end there. The Holocaust, of course, 6 million Jews were brutally murdered, but do you know how many people were actually killed because of Hitler's wrath, because he wasn't stopped?
Tell us.
60 million. 60 million. People don't think about that number. And so, you know, it started with the Jews. Hitler started with the Jews, but it didn't end there. And so we should think about the lesson of the Holocaust, the lesson of anti-Semitism, and when you allow an imam or someone else to spew such vile hatred without action, it's going to infect, and I say infect, the rest of society.
It's interesting because I know some labor union leaders who are on the side and say, you know, free Palestine. And I know if they were in Palestine, they would be dead within 12 hours. Because I know, you know, their personal habits.
That's right. That's right. And I find that shocking because you see people who are, you know, LGBTQ friendly marching. They wouldn't survive 24 hours in Gaza.
My fault, Avi. We got to go over. A little bit over 3 minutes. Thank you. This show provides independent analysis of the issues. We are not paid by the government. And as I am finding, so much business in Canada relies upon various governments that they don't want to sponsor or advertise on a show which may become controversial, which talks about liberty, freedoms, sometimes criticizes government. I've had guests on that support the government. But people are saying, you know what? We don't want to bite the hand that feeds us, i.e. government, which is why I hope you'll subscribe and contribute to keep this show on the air.